What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. So, y'all, let's talk about the Robson Conceicao O'Shaquie Foster fight. O'Shaquie Foster won that fight. He did. So I'm agreeing with people who say, yo, that decision should have been to O'Shaquie Foster. O'Shaquie had the cleaner work. His defense, he had really good defense. He was making Robson Conceicao miss a lot, catching his punches, parrying the punches. He was more sharp. And I feel like he had, the cleaner work. The more accurate punches he landed, more punches. The problem with this fight for O'Shaquie never picked up the pace in the fight. His pace remained the same, round 1 to 12. And unfortunately, what I'm seeing now is a lot of the judges reward fighters who try to take the fight to the opponent, who try to pick up the pace, who try to dictate the fight in their direction as far as with aggression. You know what I mean? And now I'm a firm believer in this. I've been watching boxing for a long time. Just because you're aggressive does not mean you're the better fighter. Does not mean you're winning the fight. I can see dudes be aggressive and they be missing. You know, their shots get blocked. They're aggressive and nothing is hitting. They hitting all air. They're aggressive and, you know, they can't get any punch to land through when they throwing these combinations at all, right? But the problem with O'Shaquie was landing the cleaner work, but it was it's kind of the criticisms that people would say about Shakur's fighting style. You gonna miss, make him pay. It was time O'Shaquie was making a miss and blocking the punches, but he wasn't really making him pay a whole lot. I mean, he was at times, but it was he could pick up the pace a little more. He could let his hands go a little more. He could get a little bit more offensive and pepper. He could have, at times, I know he could have peppered Robson Conceicao. He could have peppered him with shots. And O'Shaquie was one shot at a time, one shot at a time, one shot at a time, just moving. And again, even when, for example, a defensive fighter can fight an aggressive fighter and still land cleaner work and his shit look really good. And it looks sharp, it look crisp, and they throw combinations where, they landing in combinations. So you remember when Floyd Mayweather fought, what's up boy name, man? Godly. What's the dude name? Marcos Maidana. When Floyd fought Marcos Maidana, right? I remember watching that fight. Marcos Maidana was extremely aggressive. He throwing looping punches. He throwing punches to Floyd's arm. Any way he could see a punch landing, he was throwing, right? But between the punches, Floyd was countering well. I'm talking about uppercuts, hooks. He was countering well. It wasn't just and then I move out the way. You know what I mean? He was capitalizing. Every time he saw an opening, Floyd was throwing. Every single time he threw an opening. And O'Shaquie, it was times the openings were there for him to counter extremely well. And O'Shaquie would not pull on it. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. And it was times where he was being a little too reserved, a little bit too conservative. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, bro, you can really do some damage. And I like O'Shaquie a lot. You can really do some damage to him. But he was being a little too conservative. And unfortunately, these judges, and again, I believe he should have won the fight. I'm not saying O'Shaquie lost the fight at all. But what I'm saying is, sometimes you can't give these judges room for any type of error in certain ways. If you can pick up the pace, pick up the aggression in rounds to secure it, do it. Especially when you feel the guy, now again, Robson Conceicao, he was throwing some shit now. He was throwing some punches with some pop on them. But if you feel it's times you make the dude miss and you make him miss cleanly, land. You got to throw it. You got to pull it. You got to pull it, man. You cannot stay conservative the whole fight and fight in one pace. And then I look again, I always mention certain fighters okay, Errol Spence. Beginning rounds, he might be a little conservative. Now shit, Errol come throwing. Now he come throwing round 1. For real. Right? I can't use Errol. Tank Davis. Tank allows some rounds to go by. He'll pot shot a little bit. He doesn't throw a lot of punches at all. Tank's punch output is low compared to a lot of other fighters. But what happens is, in the later rounds, when Tank sees you slipping, you tiring out, you missing shots and you're way off, and he making you miss cleanly, he making you miss horribly, he capitalizes. he hurts you, he stalks you, to where it's clear for everybody to see that he's in plain control of this fight. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. There's no maybe he in control, maybe he is, maybe he not. None of that. We know he's in control, and he lets you know about it. He starts stalking fighters, and he starts making them pay vigorously. He takes those risks. He pulls those punches, throws in combinations to where he's hurting you. And he know, hey, it's time for you to go. You know you're in trouble, and the judges can see you're in trouble, right? There was times O'Shaquie had an opportunity to have Robson Conceicao in trouble and make him like look like, yo, so O'Shaquie could look like he was in total. I mean, he was controlling the fight for sure, but he could look like, it was times where he could have looked like he was dominating, like nothing could go wrong his way. And O'Shaquie didn't capitalize on that. You know what I mean? At some point in the fight, you got to show you are the top dog. You're the alpha dog, and it's not a question. Not just you outclassing them and you making a miss. You have to show at some point you're the alpha dog in that ring to where the judges say, oh, shit, hey, this boy in trouble. Hey, listen, he can end this fight for real. He almost could end this fight. Even if he ain't got the power, shit, man. Sometimes even the judges knowing, man, if he had a little bit more pop, hey, he could have had this fight over with. That sways their opinion. And again, I'm not saying O'Shaquie didn't win. He won. But there is a way at times to seal the deal. To where you know, hey, this shit is signed, sealed, delivered. And I feel like he could have done a better job at that. Like, again, at some point in the fight, you got to start stalking this mug. You got to start making him feel like there's nothing he could do. And you have to show your presence, your dominance in the ring. Again, I see it all the time with Tank. He lulled dudes to sleep. They start winning the rounds. You know, he pot shot for majority of the early rounds. And then he pick up the pace. The pace picks up, and the crowd can feel it. They can smell it. They start getting on the edge of their seat. And the crowd can feel that O'Shaquie was not, you know, like, in like dominating control. You know what I mean? When the crowd can feel when the pace is picking up. The crowd couldn't feel the pace was picking up at all because it wasn't. He didn't pick up the pace at all in that fight. You know, he didn't. And so that's why they started booing at times. Now, again, I'm very aware that casuals will boo at anything that's not Rock'em Sock'em Robots at times, right? But, like, I feel like, okay, O'Shaquie, they feeling like that because you're not picking up the pace. You know, it's clearly times where you can take advantage and you can have your way, pause. You can have your way in the ring against Conceicao. And you're not doing it. Tank exploits that. Listen, in that 7-8 round, he starts exploiting the fact that he can have his way. And it gets to a point where, hey, you know it's a done deal. You know it's only a matter of time. The punches start getting more thudding. They start getting more rampant. They start getting more consistent. They start getting more like, you know, they start coming up, not a dime a dozen. They start coming more often. The punches start coming more frequent. And then Tank. Like, it just, it's not just. He started doubling up the jab. You know what I mean? He started throwing hooks, slipping that uppercut in there to hurt you. And O'Shaquie, I feel like he wasn't taking advantage of the opportunities he could do that. And so the robbery was able to be like, to happen. You know, it was able to really not be justified, but they were able to kind of like, to make it to where like, oh, I can see him winning the fight. Okay, well, Shakur, you lost that round. And at some points in boxing matches, you got to show I ain't losing none of these. Hey, listen, I'm in control. This is a round I definitely didn't lose. You got to show at some point in the fight, boy, I can fuck this boy up if I want to. I can whoop this boy ass, or I am doing it. And O'Shaquie didn't show that in the rounds that he could whoop that boy ass. He could show he showed that he could beat him, that he can win, and he can show excellent defense and counter him. He didn't show I could whoop this boy's ass. You know what I mean? He didn't step on the gas, and that's why the judges were able to kind of swindle or finagle a decision to Conceicao, even though O'Shaquie won this fight. This is my opinion. Y'all might think different. Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. I feel like O'Shaquie, I know O'Shaquie won the fight. He definitely did. But because he didn't pick up the pace, change the pace, he didn't change pace at all in the fight, it allowed the judges to feel like, oh, Conceicao is in it more than he ever was. Machiavelli Mills TV, I'm out. Peace.